You can only share. Thanks. This is because. Yeah, like he's, because I did have some questions. Let's see, which of the 10 I agree with. Yeah, you read through it. Yeah, this was yours, attached on the door. So did everybody get one? On the building? Was it easy? No? It's, that's. It's like legal news to me, but it's something. At least it's more than it was.
We lost.
We lost some now? Hello? Hi. Can you get back in? Okay. They don't have an invite, so you have to call them again. They got kicked out. Okay. Melanie
Was
is.
it Kristen?
Yeah, Kristen. Melanie is. Okay. All right, she should be sending you another one. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Are you still on mute?
I don't think we are.
I can hear it behind me. But yeah, the microphone's off. Has a line to it.
On Tabitha's, on this, it is live. That's on my computer.
This is loud. We've already confirmed that they can hear us.
Can we hear them?
I can't.
Good morning. Can you hear us?
They're on up. Call the meeting to order. Good morning. Pledge. Oh,
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
I didn't know you guys were. I'm sorry. All right, public forum. This is an opportunity for citizens to present items to the HRA that are not on the agenda. Each presentation is limited to 3 minutes and a maximum of 15 minutes to set aside. If your item needs follow-up from the city, staff will arrange for that. Did you hear?
No, he's on the agenda.
Oh, okay. All right. And there's nobody else, so I guess we'll move on. You'd like to vote? Oh, we can talk about that with consideration and approval of agenda. We want to move him up. Any opposed? If we move
8.1 to 5.2. Right after meeting minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Anything else?
I'll make a motion. No. Kristen?
Yeah, can you hear us?
Yes, you had some additions that we needed to put on the agenda?
Yes, I have the addition of a revised budget for 4/1/2026, and then a revision to the 5-year plan.
So we need to add 6.2 budget and a 6.3 5-year plan.
All right,
There was
somebody
some,
want to make a motion to make those changes and corrections?
I'll make a motion to approve the budget with, or approve the agenda with those, changes.
I'll second, oh,
Oh, second. Okay, all in favor?
aye.
Any opposed? All right, 5.1, approval of meeting minutes.
Make the motion to approve.
I'll second. Okay. All in favor of the approval of meeting minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. All right, 5.2 then, we'll have Fred Stelter, is that correct? Yes. All right, welcome. Sure.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for moving me up. There's not enough hours in the day. And as much as I'd love to hear all your agenda items, it's very appreciated. So I reached out earlier this year to Tabitha to talk about the maturing loans with the HRA and EDA, and ask if we could discuss an extension on those as the whole concept is still maturing over there. We just to give some perspective, we have put in $1.2 million of improvements between the rec center, which was about 400,000, and about 800,000 in improvements at the student housing. We continue to lightly subsidize now the project to make sure that all the bills get paid and stuff like that. But through January through March, we had a profit of a few $1,000s, and the electric bill cuts on the 28th and didn't get paid until the and so we would have broke even or lost a couple bucks for the first quarter, which there's heavy utilities at this time of the year, so that's not unsurprising right now. We have roughly 40 students, and it'd be nice if they're all paying consistently. These are young people, and so we're trying our best to work with them, and so that doesn't help much. So in some cases, after they leave Pine Tech, we're setting them up for payment plans as they have income then and stuff like that. So it's just some of the challenges of working with them. Had the original market study been accurate, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But we're at a fourth of what was anticipated, and in that market study. And what we find is that we're competing against zero, meaning people live at home, and home can be 2 hours away. And even though if you help show them the economics of what they're doing, that they're going backwards by doing that, their perception is different. So we're probably going to be pricing a little bit different for this fall, a little higher to help with all this. But it's just going to take longer for the business to mature and go from there. And as I've been having discussions with the college, if we can't get to a certain level, at some point we're going to have to rethink what we do at the lower level. And, policemen, nurses, whatever is critical in the community, we might have to rethink it and go from there. But we've had really zero behavioral issues over there. I think that was the big concern when people came in, to this from the community, when we have, Animal House going on and stuff like that. Having attended college, I almost think they're a little too tame over there. It's pretty mellow. What I will share is that we are reflection of society, and there's a lot of mental health stuff that pops. So basically, I think all of our calls have been mental health related over there, and I'm not quite sure, what to do about that. We're not mental health professionals. My staff or they're the student residents, resident assistants and stuff like that. We're not, professionals in that line, and so we just do our best to. If we see something, call it in, or family or relatives. We just say, well, you got to call in a wellness check and go from there. Happy to go knock on the door, but we're not equipped to assess anything greater than that. So as a community, it's just something that I guess I'll just share that. I'm sure community-wide you're struggling with that, like every community. So
Maybe that's what you can do in the basement.
pardon me?
Maybe that's what you can do in the basement. Loan and rent it out to mental health
Yeah.
responders.
Yeah. This year we have less. But last year we had 3 nursing students. Nursing students tend to be older with families, and so they have another issue of why they don't stay. That in one instance was a real game changer for somebody who had an episode, and they identified it and dealt with it. They're heroes in that case. So anyway, it's been an interesting adventure. The problems I think that we thought we'd have really haven't materialized, and the new things that we're dealing with are the unknown unknowns, and the building for the most part after we got new roof on and various things has settled down. I got to go deal with a couple of clogged toilets. And there we go. Inside, I just want to give a little insight of our numbers that I shared is that I'm not taking any salary, no one's taking a salary or any management fee even or anything like that. We are committed to getting the project up and running before we take anything for ourselves out of it, much to my wife's chagrin and my bank account. So anyway, that I guess what I'd really like to ask for is a 3-year extension, the HRA loan, and hopefully by then we're stabilized in a different way and throwing out cash, and we can either get additional bank financing and pay you off, or amortize it out, or whatever, But for right now, we're in a little bit of a funky spot in that if I went to a bank right now, they go, tell me why we'd lend you additional money at this point in time, because we're bumping along, and that services what we got, but to take on an additional debt is from a bank perspective not good. So anyway, I'm here to answer questions and be very, very frank about where we're at.
I guess I can go for a second on both EDA and HRA. So that's a kind of my standpoint and things. And I personally, I'm only 1 of 5 on council and 1 voting member of these boards as well. I'm not immediately opposed to extension. I guess I would like to. Both of these organizations have been burned in the past, and we've pushed a loan out. And I don't want to say that that's what's in the cards, but we've walked away from a couple large investments in corporations that just never materialized. So my personal wish would be that there's something that we can do, maybe meet in the middle a little bit, or get some sort of.
Well, I mean, you could set up an amortizing. Meet in the middle would be to set up an reasonable amortization. I'm not opposed to that. I just it would it'd be a challenge to have to retire both notes right this fall, because the enticement of us doing this was that we had community help, and that was great and appreciated. We would have never done the project. And now that we're highly pregnant, the community has to take care of the baby.
Just to throw it out there, the tax abatement did not proceed. He didn't apply for it.
So we have the tax pay, we're just not, the value of the property hasn't triggered it.
Yeah, so he's still sitting under what was projected.
Yeah, I met with the assessor and went through our numbers and stuff like that. His own assessment, but I agreed with my assessment, premature to try and take a value. And I just said, frankly, it's very hard to find the cash to pay the tax to get it back 3 months later or whatever it is. It would be better if we just stayed very realistic about where we're at. If you look at it from a community lending standpoint, there was a property that was a massive liability that you would have to tear down. I wouldn't even want to estimate what it would cost. That thing is a fortress. And so, you went from a really big problem on your hands to now it's a very neat property for the community. It was a lot of hard work, and we're there, but we're not there all the way yet.
Do you have anything planned to increase the occupancy with the students? I know, having worked there a number of years, that a lot of the students are they don't want to travel too far from home. And so that's part of it, but it was interesting. I had a student with the Francis Scholarship who was coming to Pine and planning to live in, I'll call them dorms, but which is the first time I've had that with some students. But I mean, it was always hard, no matter what, to even get them into an apartment, maybe 3 or 4 of them, so they didn't have to travel back and forth to the cities or north. And it was just hard. They were just so police bound with families. So I don't know if there's anything else that you have that you could market it differently, or maybe marketing isn't the problem. Maybe
Well,
it's just
from my perspective, number one, they have to want to go to Pine Tech.
Yeah.
And so it starts with that. They commit to go to Pine Tech. We have a reasonable housing value proposition for them. What's really interesting is that it's so barbell. It became clear after a couple of years. It's just so barbell. The value proposition is zero to so many, and then on the other side of it, most of the people think it's a bargain. They have to have, because they're out there realistically looking at what an apartment costs and all that. And so they have all my expenses paid, free internet, free laundry in the basement, things like that. It's a great value proposition. If I could figure out how to get 20 more students in there, or if I could find anyone in the community that can tell me how to get 20 more students in there, our goal for this fall would be that we can get 50, 60, because at least would be in a much healthier position then. But we're overwhelmingly gunsmithing, and they're coming from all over the place, and that clearly has taken probably some pressure off of the apartments in the community for other regular people, not students. And so it's been a great value to the community from that standpoint, not crowding out other people. But there's some discussion about, will they start another flight in January of gunsmithing students to have have a larger population going through. I hope that materializes with their new addition and stuff like that. That if they do, that would probably be the single biggest thing that would benefit us. The other thing the college is doing right now is that they changed their nursing program. There's a better entry level, and I think as that gets advertised, I can think of a couple of people that have kind of come because of that. But it just, these young people are so fluid in their, I had, two young women that, we got a room right next to each other. They both applied, and 3 days later, we decided to go to, it's like, so it's just a lot of patience, a lot of work working with these young people.
And it's the money too.
Right.
Well, that's there is such an there wasn't this debt aversion that you see today. I mean,
Right.
and so they expect me to take the debt on for them. And surely I'll pay you next year for what I owe you this year. And the decision we have is that, well, we can either work with this person, or the room is empty. Well, we might as well work with the person. The incremental cost is not that huge to heat their room, whatnot. So anyway, we're doing everything on our end of it to work with people to provide a affordable living arrangement for these students coming in. And I could tell stories all morning about some really wild stuff that where we had a guy living in an ice house in January, not this January before, and county called and said, well, he's going to enroll, we'll pick him up and he's graduating this spring with a welding degree, and they just opened up their new 2-year program. He said, I like living here so much, I'm coming back. And so, to take somebody from extreme homelessness, living in an unheated ice house, to our situation, we've had people get kicked out of their house at 18. Get fine check, take care of you. And so we've had multiple situations like that. We've had situations where people come out of foster care. They're kicked out at 18, got nowhere to go, and so whether you realize it or not, we're catching people that otherwise would be crashing on somebody's couch, hopefully, and hopefully not something worse that they get themselves into. And so,
I have a question. For the people who are living there and are going to school there, how many of them do you think use their financial aid to pay for?
We don't. I think very few are actually getting a student loan.
Okay.
And like I said, the aversion of that. So if it was all free, sign me up. It's like, and I get that call very often. So what do you mean? Isn't there a scholarship for this, or isn't this under my scholarship package, or something like that? The college is looking at how they reframe that a little bit, because they did not have they weren't working through that housing end of it with students as much. And so the presentation that I got when I was going to be a student was, here's all encompassing. If you need housing and whatnot, here's what you're gonna, have to take for a loan unless you have a different housing arrangement, stuff like that. I think that would help, and it sounds like that's what they're gearing up for this year, to help people understand there are options on housing inside of and living expenses inside of the student loan. So it opens up their eyes a little bit to the possibilities, because I don't know how many kids just check out. They go, I can't, stroke a check for rent or whatever, and can't live at home. I gotta go. Can't get an education. I think that number is a little higher than everybody in this room can care for because of the conversations I have.
What's the monthly cost for a student?
Well,
Or do you go by semester?
no, what we're trying to do, and we're feeling our way through this, is that if they're on a program that goes more than 1 year, we ask them to sign a year lease. And this past year, most of the kids were at about $550 a month.
Just still.
And we're really targeting probably $750 for this fall, because the other thing that's just really different these days is post-COVID, no one wants a roommate. And so we were all geared up for double occupancy and whatnot, and 550 is really our double occupancy rate. And that's, they're just an aversion. So if they come in and say, hey, I want to have a single room, it was 800 this year. And when we're trying to go this coming fall, is like, look, okay, the room rate is, 750, 800. Go get a roommate and they'll be happy. And put the onus on them, go get a roommate. I'm not going to play match but my pay rate. So anyway, we're trying to create an uber affordable option for people, but I need to, we're going to flourish. We need to get enough per room and enough rooms rented to make this go well. Instead of
The
just
cash
flow. Yeah.
So let me ask a question this way. Would it be a viable option, and I don't know the legality of any of this, so this is just an idea that popped into my head. Would it be a possibility, rather than re-signing another 3-year loan, that we could set up a housing scholarship for kids? Is that, I don't even know if that's something an HRA or a city can do, but rather than just sign you a blank check, if we could write a blank check out for an amount for saying that folks that can't pay their rent, then that's being a roadblock for them. If we can remove that roadblock for them, is that a viable solution forward or viable path forward?
I think anything you can do to promote the college and promote them having an affordable option to go in is helpful. And I don't know if that's in your HRA budget or city budget or county budget or whatever, but I believe the need is there, that you would get more students if you just in general more students if there was some sort of housing assistance piece of it. But I honestly believe that it also is, how do you educate and present to these young people that there is an option, having a small student loan, $8,000-$10,000 to get, your welding degree if you have zero ability to contribute to your housing or living allowance, and come out with $60,000-$70,000 a year job on the other side of it. That's a heck of a trade. But I think it's hard for a lot of kids to see that.
I think especially in this area, I think we have to remember that it's Pine County, we're the second most populous county in the state. When we look at our median income here in Pine City, $44,000 median household income in Pine City. So it may be people, in my mind, it may be people that really would love to. I think back to when I was in college and taking housing out of it. My entire 2 years of college in Oak Ramsey was $7,000. So when we're talking about investing another $7,000 in housing, that just may be unachievable by some of these kids. And I don't mean to downplay anything or say,
Or terrifying to them.
like, and especially now with how expensive everything is, like, it's fine tech, it's not you where you're looking at $100,000 a year or something, situations like that. But I think kids these days, or maybe their parents, and it's a shift in our culture where when I went to school, it was, oh, go to school for a couple of years. If you don't find if you like, try something else and try something else until you make it. Well, I don't think the appetite is there to
Yeah.
dive
Stakes are higher,
deeper and deeper into student loan debt that you're paying on for
ever.
the rest of your life for the next 30 years. So I think it's,
How much time do we have to make the decision as far as our time frame towards
September first.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
maybe we get,
I was gonna say that I feel like any, any request to extend it, the length of the loan or do, a payment schedule of some kind, we should be doing our due diligence and getting, you know, treating it like any other loan where you're giving us updated financials,
Yep.
and things like that. So I think our first step needs to be working with staff to
Both sides.
complete, as, you know, part of the same information we would have from the original loan application. So I would recommend that we start there, and get a subcommittee together that will review that. And with this being a loan from the HRA and a loan from the EDA, I think it may require a combined meeting, like our initial discussion with them 3 years ago when we did the loan.
And I think too, it would be some interesting information, and I think we could get it from the college about, okay, how many of these students that are out of the housing, well, how do I want to say this, that really can't live at home because of the distance, and have to find how many of those students do we have, number one, and if those students do they get loans? You know, are they eligible for Stafford loans or self-pay loans at the college, which makes a difference too. The other thing I have personally, because I work with this kind of frequently, is students have a lot of expenses now, especially a truck or a car. And there's payments on those, and they tend to pay that first rather than look at anything else. I mean, for instance, scholarships, you pay nothing in tuition and fees, and until this year, you've got $1,000 stipend to pay for books. So they, you know, but they'll still have to work. They say, I can't afford it. And I say, but you don't owe anything. I know, but I have a car and I have this and I have that. So housing is the last thing they think about it. But it would be interesting to get that information.
Yeah.
Then we could, yeah.
we'll work on working with the EDA and put a committee together.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
we can try to maybe get any thoughts or questions, write them down over the next month. And sorry, I'm not going to take control of the meeting here. But
Oh,
just
no.
if you have
No.
any ideas that we can come back with them next month and have a little bit more of an in-depth conversation. And
Have you already presented this to the EDA?
Well, I was going to tomorrow. I was going to talk to my son came in unexpectedly from Arizona, and so tomorrow is really difficult for me to come back up the second day. So I'm gonna have to probably postpone that a month. But the good news is that we got out in front of this for
We've got plenty of time.
way out.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see, 6.1 SMR management staff report.
Good morning. So first off, I just want to update the board on some things happening at the property. We have had some plumbers out there to investigate some hot spots on the floor in the hallway outside of a couple of units. They drilled a hole through the floor to get a camera down there to check into it. There's some kind of water leak happening underneath the concrete floor. So they are going to have to dig into the concrete floor to figure out where that leak is coming from so that we can repair that leak. And then we will have substantial repairs that will need to be done to the floor. I'm going to guess that this is going to be a large expense. I guess just 10,000-ish if I had to throw a number out there.
Yeah. I was out there last week and to look at it, and the hotspot, this is Jolene. The hotspot is one main one is in a residence unit. And but I did myself put my hand on it, put my feet on it, and it is very warm. And it is a good thing there is like a cover over, like carpet cover or something over the top of it. It's almost like that particular area has in-floor heating, which it doesn't. But right now we're still in the investigative mode. They're still trying to figure it out. The plan right now is to try to go through one of the residents' kitchen areas to see if we can get a better view of what's going on. But still, we don't know all that yet, and still working towards it.
Okay.
But it is also maybe a sign of some of the water usage too. So, we got to figure out where it's leaking from because it's obviously on the.
But because it's hot water,
yeah.
it's got to be coming through the building after it's gone through the
Water
heater.
heater, right? Well, that's the first one. What's the other one? Oh, you said a couple of things, so. Okay. That's the
Yeah.
only major one that we need to discuss. You said a couple of things.
okay.
I thought there was
Yeah.
something else, so.
That's it on that one?
Yep, that's only large expense, hopefully for now. I did add the 2 items to the agenda for the budget and the 5-year plan. Jolene and I met with HUD yesterday after our last meeting and submitting the budget. HUD is saying that it had too large of a cash flow at the end of the year for us to be able to draw down $40,000 in operating subsidy. So I am looking to amend the budget to reduce that amount for the operating subsidy, or for the operating from capital fund, sorry, to 22,000 from 40,000. And then we're also increasing the expense on the contract costs. So that would be plumbers, electricians, and different such, since we're having all this issue with the concrete or the water leak under the floor, to show that we are going to have less of a cash flow. So that's going to bring our cash flow from 30,000 down to 6,400. To really show to HUD that we need these funds to be drawn down.
What, can you repeat the last 2 numbers?
It went from a cash flow of 30,400 down to 6,400.
I didn't have it pulled up. I just was asking what.
I have a question about the ones that you sent out via email.
Yep.
They have yellow on is the yellow indicating where changes need to be made or changes have been made?
Nope, the only changes that were made were the handwritten changes.
Okay, the address that's listed for the property is incorrect on every page.
Okay, yeah, it came from our accountant, so I will let them know.
Because it should be southwest.
Yeah.
905 7th Street Southwest. And I know that just seems a little thing, but people who review those kinds of grant requests and stuff, they look at everything, so.
Good.
Also, if, is it possible to put in like mold remediation? Because there's a lot that needs to be done for that as well.
Yep, that would be included in our contracted costs.
Right, but I mean, just specifically saying on their mold remediation, that way it kind of keeps it in their mind that this property is not just being maintained for just as a general, but it is being maintained because of water issues and mold issues.
Yep, I can't change the account codes on there, so it's all included under that contracted costs. That's like
A HUD.
the HUD account tree. I can't change those descriptions.
Okay.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the revised budget.
All in favor?
Um,
Opposed? All
Right,
right.
and then the other item I have is for the amendment to the 5-year cap plan. The current plan did not have operations in it, so we are looking to add that so we can draw down that 22,000. And then also we've amended some of the year 2022 to include as Tracy was talking about the tenant damages. That one would include, it's tenant damages and emergency repair. So that's where the remediation in one of the units right now from the foundation that's coming up through the foundation into the wall, that we have some mold growing on the wall. Our maintenance man will be cutting open the sheetrock in that unit and investigating further into how big of an issue we have and if we need to hire a remediation company to come in to clean it up.
The 5-year plan needs to be amended in order for us to amend the cap fund drawdown.
So that we can draw down these funds before the due date in May.
Which in the previous one were earmarked to.
We were hoping to do all into operations, but HUD is not allowing us to do that at this time. So that's why we've made these amendments to it so that we can draw down these funds and not lose the funds.
Okay.
Any questions? Make a motion to.
I'll make a motion to approve the 5-year plan.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Old business 7.1, section 18 disposition versus RAD conversion, update and discussion. Leslie, about a system for moving forward. Oh, we filled out an application, so that's part 2, isn't it?
Yeah, that's 7.2.
And I know almost zero about both of these programs, but I think Leslie had some momentum going here and has set up Rolodex full of contacts. If she's willing, I think being she's got the knowledge already or got the foundation of the knowledge, I think it would be worthwhile to contract with her to get.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we've been emailing and then getting the necessary information to make that happen. So I don't have anything firm on that, and I know there was still working out the details of that, so.
Where would the cost, I'm assuming that we would take a percent of her current salary? Is that the way it would work?
Yeah,
Or
I think we would be.
a contract
I
with the
think
county?
the hour was her
Oh.
previous when she was contracting as,
Okay,
so
and that would come from what part of our budget?
Probably operation.
Operation?
I mean, we were paying her before.
Yeah, correct.
yeah, this would just kind of replace what we were
Extend that.
paying.
Okay.
I don't think it would be a split this time,
It would just be.
It would
coming
just
from
be us.
EDA, or, excuse me.
Okay.
or just the HR.
Yeah, we can't lose her knowledge. And I was just, I want to make sure we have it in the budget.
And I think it's critical that we keep this
Absolutely.
project moving forward at.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we need a motion for that? It's
Yeah,
going
There's
on,
nothing
no?
to do yet.
Okay, all right.
Then 7.2, we had submitted the small cities development program application in conjunction with city council, right? So that was completed and taken care of. So that was good.
We wait.
Yeah, now we wait.
And when is the decision? Is it like September?
Wasn't it? Yeah.
It took a long time.
Mhm.
What was all included with the application? Was it just the app, or were there other documents that need to be sent with it?
Just the
It'll be already been submitted.
Yeah, it was.
Because it had to be signed by city council.
It needed to be
Needed the
sent out to city
resolution
council.
and the minutes and.
Because it's a small cities development,
Mhm.
and they are,
What's
This-
included with the sign off?
well, they went through the council meeting.
And
And
the,
they
yeah,
have-
the motion from council, the approved motion from council,
Resolution, the
public hearing.
my conflict of interest form, there was another paper that I had to sign.
Was that something everybody had to sign?
No, because he's on the.
Just
The city acting as the applicant.
Okay.
No more questions? 7.2. Okay, 7.3, tenant grievance policy. Anybody have any questions or input?
Well, every resident received it. On their door. I know it's difficult for some of the residents to understand, but, maybe the front page is much more simple, and then the,
Can I say, with going through it and looking at it, it doesn't have a definition list. A lot of these people are vulnerable adults. And that was one of the things that was called out. Well, what is this? What does this mean? I would recommend adding a definitions list. And then the only other thing that I personally found confusing was when you file a complaint, that's your complaint. And then this is, well, now you have to do another informal complaint, essentially, with a meeting. So it kind of is like a redundant step.
What do you mean?
It's like if you're filing a complaint
Yep.
and nothing's handled with it, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Now, with this form, now you're having to take it and do another informal meeting instead of just moving to the next step of, okay, nothing was done or this or that. Why are we having to do the complaint,
right,
which should involve a meeting already and discussion of how it's gonna be handled, and then moving forward.
it goes through like the chain of command, pretty much. Together.
But you already filed the complaint, you should already have a summary of what's gonna happen and take place. Why are you doing another one
If it's not,
and then another one?
if it's not resolved,
That's
there's
the way I
different
looked at it.
steps.
Yeah, that was the second step if the first step wasn't resolved.
But the first step should already include a formal conversation and a summary of what is going to happen.
Well, how would they know there's a complaint coming? Like,
Well, no, it's like if I'm handed a complaint for the city.
so if you're a resident of the property and you fill out a complaint, you would give it to SMR, right?
Mhm.
All right,
And now I should have a meeting with them to discuss this issue and how it's going to be handled. And then a
is
written,
that not what happens now?
No.
What happens now?
from the looks of it, they just take the complaint. And
I think
Let it
this is
go.
something that Kristen needs to.
Okay,
Kristen,
okay, so the way this policy is written and the way the way it is set up is the residents can go to our site manager or the person on site for maintenance requests, any concern they have, tenant paperwork, whatever concerns they have within the building. Whatever it might be, our site manager is there to help resolve whatever is there. If they are concerned about the person, my maintenance person, the site manager, and or something that's happening in the building,
And the site manager hasn't been able to resolve issue.
the next step is to come and ask for an informal hearing, which was very clearly stated to the executive director and or Kristen, to set up a time to sit down and discuss that resident's concern and see if that concern can be resolved, mediate it, maybe even just calm the person down who seems to be upset about something, whatever it might be. It is my job, our job, to do an informal hearing that then says, yes, we've been able to resolve this, or no, we haven't been able to resolve it, because that might be the case. I mean, I would say that in 99% of the times in my life, informal hearings resolves the issue because it gets you to the real crux of what is the person is upset about. Get that person calmed down, address the situation. If that situation becomes something that is beyond our control, the executive director's control, the management's control, to get that person calmed down and to resolve their concerns. Most times it's a lack of communication or a lack of understanding for what that person is needing to resolve. So if you can get this informal hearing in place, it gets that done. It gets that person to, okay, thank you for, end conversations is usually, thank you for listening to me and thank you for helping me resolve this concern. If that is not able to be done, that is why there's a procedure where there's a formal thing that literally we will write up the definition of the meeting, what happened. If that's not done and it's not resolved, then that resident has the right to come in front of the board for the board to listen to this person's concerns. And then the board gets to put in a place a hearing officer that's going to hear this person and see if we can resolve that concern. It is a normal mediation. This is a normal procedure and a HUD requirement that you have informal hearings before it comes to a board. And this policy works. We do it everywhere, and it works because the most of the time, even the last conversation I had with the resident, it was listening to the person, having a conversation with them. Sometimes they're not resolvable because there really isn't anything to resolve. It's just personality differences. Sometimes, sometimes it is, I can't fix the foundation problem in the building right now until we get money. That could be one of the concerns they have, or there's something in their unit that they want resolved. So the procedure is get it to the site manager. If the site manager can't resolve it, or the maintenance person can't resolve the issue, then have that tenant call or set up a time. And then from there,
We would bring it to the board.
we would likely, if it can't be resolved, let the board know we have this informal hearing and can't get it resolved, but the resident has the right to request that hearing as well. And then we would be able to say to the board, yes, we have had an informal hearing with this individual. If that individual chooses to go around that informal hearing, that's where the board then needs to say at the board meeting, have you spoken and done the first step? The goal is to resolve the resident's concern. We have compassion for our residents. Sometimes it is just simply trying to get them to understand and listen. They're upset. They're upset about something that really doesn't even pertain to what they're trying to resolve. But sometimes it's simply, okay, thank you for letting us know. We will fix whatever's wrong in your unit, right? Sometimes it's as simple as that.
So for these vulnerable adults, would it be a big deal to add a definitions list to this? What do
you mean by a definitions list? I don't
Who
get
the
what you mean.
executive, list out
Official
who the
policy.
executive director is, list out, like,
It's literally on
explain
there.
some of these long big terms.
You probably didn't see it.
There's a cover letter that clearly says who the executive director is. There's a form
That person could be ever changing that to put it
into a policy.
to the policy, you'd have to amend the policy then anytime you have a change made.
This is just a policy.
I don't
If,
even know what the word complaint is.
excuse
or-
me,
That's why they have the front page.
So I think
I'm
this dives into something that was brought up at the last city council meeting. And maybe we need to look at an advocate or someone that's at a capacity that does this or deals with this. Someone, I'm thinking a social worker at the county or someone that we can give a phone number to. And if we have a resident that has questions about this, third party that they can pick up the phone and call and say, I don't know what I'm doing. Can you help me walk through this? Or can you either in person or over the phone? And I think that would, I've heard.
We just need somebody that is going to be able to explain this stuff to people.
so
Okay, 'cause
why can't that be given, why can't those residents that are coming into your unit be given our phone number, be given that?
There,
Because I repeatedly get told that you're not solving their problems. And I don't mean to put you on the spot right now, but the handful of residents that have come forward with issues say that you're not solving the problem. And I'm not saying that the problem is a big problem, and I'm not saying that it's an actual problem, but they're not getting
But they're not contacting us.
And that's, in my mind as a board member, that's not acceptable. So we need to figure out how to make them feel heard.
So,
Whether
okay,
policy
So
or not
they're-
changing policy. I
but let
wanna
me
make
say it
sure
this
that
way.
they understand
I don't mean to
what-
interrupt, but they're not contacting us.
We've only heard from
From
one
one
resident
resident.
in the last 6 months, and we've had conversations with him both over the phone and in person.
And at both ends of both conversations with that individual, his last line is, thank you for listening to me. Thank you for understanding me. Thank you, appreciate it. Tell Kristen and Rachel I said hi. So I do not understand if these people are not being directed to our office,
We can't resolve their
I can't
issues.
resolve their issues. So if they're vulnerable adults, almost 90% of residents are vulnerable adults regardless of what property they live in. All residents deserve to be heard, but they have to take the first steps, and whoever they're approaching in the community or whoever they're approaching on the county level, whoever they're approaching, they need to be able to follow the steps. To go around the steps isn't going to fix the issue. If they need an advocate,
To your point, hold on, to his point, now in this role of doing my research, they have been given 2 residents. That's it. One, she just spoke of, which herself, Becky was part of that meeting. It was over the phone in person. The other person, they have attempted to reach out to that person multiple times with no return call. All these other complaints or reach outs, they have no clue about that. They don't, so how can they fix something they don't know about? So, but to your point, yes, if there are issues, whether they're vulnerable adults or just standard residents, I could even see a standard layperson. What is a complaint? Maybe they've never been in that world. Like mortgage, when I use the term, what does that mean? Oh, okay, obviously I'm in that world. I need to let you know what that means. So, I would just say, in defense of them, they do this for a living. They have multiple properties. This is standard procedure, right? If we want to adopt something additional, an advocate from the county to help people, but we have to have a clear, consistent procedure and policy for when people do decide to come to the city and raise an issue, and that it's consistent, and then that we can help get it down the path that it needs to go. Right now,
because as we are getting these complaints and we tell them to go back and talk to the manager, they won't.
okay,
They
but
specifically
aside from that,
that's
if no one from the city is giving us the information to address the complaints, how do we know? How can we be advocates of HRA and the residents?
So do we send them to you?
No, they should go to SMR.
But they won't. That's a problem.
But
So
can't
is
you
there-
forward their complaint to us so that we know of the problem?
I think that was kind of what we were working with at the end of Becky's term was if there was a complaint, it was supposed to be sent to SMR, and if things are just coming into City Hall, no one's hearing
If you're,
anything about
if City Hall is hearing a complaint and all you're doing is taking a verbal message, and not sharing it with our chair and SMR and trusting that that resident is gonna go follow up.
that. It's just putting more gasoline on the fire.
Yeah, that's all it's doing. If you're getting a resident walking in off the street and they have a complaint and you say, here's what you need to do. Well, I'm not comfortable calling SMR. Okay, let's sit down and call them together now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Agreed.
but when we did submit complaints, it took forever to get handled. And we didn't even get a response back. Like Marcy sent over 2 initial complaints that took forever to get responses to.
They were just on December 8th. When did you guys meet with, one person at the residence?
We attempted to schedule in December, but because of the holiday, we couldn't. So we met in January.
I've done a lot of work like this, and first of all, I think that the policy is the policy. I know why it has to be written like that, but and I understand why some residents may not understand that. I get that totally. However, the sheet that goes with the policy that explains the process is very well done. And I think if they come to the city, and Becky, I think you said it, if they come to the city with a complaint, the first response of the city should be, did you go and visit with the site manager or what? We should be familiar with whatever that step 1 is, with, you know, advocating for yourself and going to the site manager. And we should ask them to do that because this is a perfect way to handle the situation. But if they aren't doing the number 1, then we have to go back and make sure they are, because otherwise it's going to get all muddled. And I mean, this process is great if it's followed, but we have to make sure it's followed. And so I honestly think we need to say, did you meet with so-and-so? And if not, please
Why
go back and meet.
If not, why not?
Well, that may be too, and they may say some, but then, you know, if we had an advocate or whomever, then go and meet first, but we need to follow these guidelines, and I think we would be fine.
Well, I think, and one other step would be that when they do, when I say why not, to maybe we would get at the reason why they don't go to the site manager. And it may be that the site manager needs more training on procedures or how to talk to people, or, you know, a number of different kinds of things that could be remediated just with that first step.
We already did.
Yeah, and I think I'll repeat again here is I think what we're seeing is something is breaking down between, we're getting calls at the City Hall office. We are not the body as the city who needs to be responding to and taking care of these calls. That's SMR's job. If SMR isn't doing their job, that's a different conversation. But from what I'm hearing, from what I'm seeing, things are going to the city and city staff are trying to take care of it, but they're never really communicating with this board, and they're never really communicating with SMR, or maybe they are independently, but we're not all coming together and letting. So I keep hearing we have complaints and we have complaints, and I don't disbelieve that these complaints are. I don't believe that these complaints are unfounded, but maybe it's.
We need to know what they are.
Everybody needs to be on the same page, because right now we've got the HRA board who's on page 1 of the book. We've got city staff who are on page 50, and we've got SMR who hasn't opened the cover yet because they don't know what's going on.
And this procedure clearly spells that out. And I mean, granted, I'm sure there are some residents that are probably maybe can't do this on their own and will need some support. But again, if you go back and follow these guidelines, everybody will be on the same page.
And I guess that's in my mind, when we were discussing advocate or someone that
right.
It was someone third party that they could call that could walk them through this sheet and say, okay, this is your first step. Are you comfortable doing this? I would assume if there is a, if the populace is, I'm trying to, is a, I wonder how many people have a social worker or have somebody that they're
Right.
already contacting at the county.
Yeah.
If this isn't really gonna take a whole, if we can throw the county a couple $1,000 at the end of the year to have someone to pick up the phone and answer these questions and kind of, I'm not a social worker, I don't deal with this populace on the normal. I'm an IT guy, I push buttons on the computer and make the internet work, so like, it's not in my wheelhouse to necessarily handle a situation like this. But I think there are folks that have that skill set that would be more than happy to help. At the end of the day,
Research on that.
at the end of the day, the goal of council is to make sure that our residents of the HRA are happy, healthy, and live in a safe place.
I believe I know the team specifically that would be able to give us the answers. So
You wanna look into that and get back to us?
if that's what you guys would like, yeah.
Yeah, if you wanna do that, that'd be awesome.
You mind if I tag along with that?
Yeah, and then as far as complaints that come in timelines, I mean, like I said, the two that we know of, they met with them, satisfied. The other one, they've reached out with nothing returned. So timeline wise, yeah, I don't want it to take forever either, but it sounds like it was brought in December and handled in January.
That seems reasonable. I mean, not, you know, if your apartment is not fire, I mean, obviously there's things that need to be taken care of. My kitchen faucet came shot off
Yeah.
the thing.
I mean, with reasonable, yeah, for
That's
sure.
an immediate, but there are things that meeting with different organizations and meeting with these groups of people takes time and developing paths forward.
All right. 9.1 HRA fund financial report.
Doesn't have we don't have the information, right? Is it?
This is the levy.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
But I don't think it was attached online.
Yeah, I have
I have it on, unless it was attached.
You do the PDF or the HTML?
whatever.
Oh,
is.
that one thing, yeah, okay.
I don't know.
I was
I just
expecting
looked at it.
all the 30 pages that we.
Any questions on that?
I would, is that first check 254631 SCDP application?
Oh, I wonder.
Is that the public hearing notice?
What was the check or what was the amount for?
5636,
That would be the,
the North Star Media.
Okay,
that's exactly what that is.
perfect, thank you. And then the remainder is Leslie's hours in December and January. And then life, dental, disability, and health, which is allocated to city staff.
All right. Anybody want to make a motion to approve the March 2026 check register?
I'll move it.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? March 2026 HRA financials. There's highlighted professional services general. I think that was what we discussed earlier with making the changes to that for the
The professional services general
it was highlighted,
is
so I'm not sure.
for Leslie's hours in December, not billed until March.
Okay. Oh, there it is at the bottom. I gotta scroll up. Okay. Any questions on this one or comments? I have a motion to approve the March 2026 HRA financials.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 9.2 revolving loan fund.
We already did that earlier with Fred.
Really been in
Yeah, this is the
Oh, no,
summer.
he
the
was
revolving.
8.1, so this is just our,
Oh, and
our monthly updates.
So there's no new information. There won't be until
So nothing
September
to
30th.
approve or nothing. Any additional items, comments, or questions? Okay. Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
I,
You have Nancy.
All right. Any opposed? All right. Well, that's a lot of info.